Hello, I'm here with Colin Currie, our amazing soloist. So Colin, how did you become a world famous percussionist?
Well, if indeed I am, the path to that was very gradual. I mean, I started when I was very young, maybe just 2 or 3 years old, just reacting to rhythm around me. And I very quickly became obsessed with the drums. So I had toy drums, I had my own first wee drum kit, and then a bigger one, and then getting one piece at a time. First of all, a snare drum, then a hi-hat, then a cymbal. And I just sort of took it from there, really. Became interested in orchestras and all kinds of different music. Still love rock music, jazz, all kinds of things. So very gradually.
And how did this piece come about?
Well, this piece is a lovely work and a very special piece for me. And initially, I had this great love of Julia Wolf's music, and so arranged to have a meeting with her. And she's this fabulous person, really kind of wired and inventive and interested in music and people and doing new things. So this great little meeting, and I asked her about a concerto with an orchestra, solo percussion with orchestra. And she said, well, yeah, you've already got lots of rather fine pieces with marimbas and the drums and tempo blocks, and I want to do you something completely different. And I said, right, that sounds perfect. So that's how this piece came about, something different, but something deep and meaningful and profound as well, of course.
And this body percussion thing, did you kind of invent some of it with her, or is this sort of standard body percussion?
Well, she was amazing in her research for the body percussion. I mean, as you will hear and see in this piece, it gets very, very involved, the body percussion. It's very dexterous. And what you should also know is that every single note is written down. It's completely composed, this piece. And so she's written it in a way that's very, very idiomatic for the performer. And it's all her. And she also had this fun idea that she would give me something new to learn. So I've got this new skill off the back of this piece. So now I've got, some body percussion credentials, which is a lot of fun for me.
And the whole thing is written down, even the cadenza?
Absolutely, yeah. Every last little finger click.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did she invent a way of writing it down or something?
Also, indeed, yeah, I had to learn the notation on the page. So she came up with a very clear way of getting all this music onto the page. So she defined the clef. So normally I have a treble clef or a bass clef or alto clef or whatever it may be. This is just a blank percussion clef, but with the 5 lines. So the bottom line is maybe a bass sound, the third line might be a snare, and everything else. So it's quite a black page of information, but all perfectly written down and all decipherable once you've learnt the key.
So what are the sort of 3 basic body percussion sounds?
Yeah, well, my understanding is that there's a lot of finesse involved, obviously, as you branch out and develop the skill. But the body percussion came about to replicate the drum kit. So the drum kit basic sounds are bass, snare, and hi-hat. And on the body, you have that here. You have the bass here. This is the bass, and the snare can be there with the hand clap. And then the little clicks are the hi-hat sounds in between. So even that already sounds a bit like a drummer,
I was going to ask you to teach me some, but that is so amazing up close that let's not bother with that. That's just too cool. What is this thing when you hit the back of is that something that's been invented for this?
Yeah, so the opening of the work is rather expansive and quite slow moving, and it's got this very sort of gorgeous, intimate feel of expectation as the piece gradually is going to take shape. And Julia wrote this gesture that she spoke to me about, which is here. It's supposed to be little heart flutterings. So it's quite quick. It's just meant to be sort of some kind of representation of the heart and the energy and the feel of that. So it's quite tender. So it's a little bit theatrical. You sort of play it into the whole.
And does all this hurt? Because you are this close. It seems you're hitting yourself quite hard. Does it hurt?
Well, I mean, you got to be a little bit tough for this one. It's a little bit of a. If one of my concertos is a squash match, this is the one. So you might get a couple of little knocks and bruises. But you have to do it, really. I mean, the more energy you put in, the more sound comes out. And I remember the first time I performed the work, especially there's a sound here, which is a slap on the thigh. And the next day I woke up perhaps a corker of a bruise there. But we rehearsed yesterday and I'm more or less unscathed.
So far, by the end of today, though, could be a completely different story.
The performance is a one night only type of deal, so we'll give it everything in the performance to see how I end up.
And then the second half, you'd move on to street percussion.
Yeah.
So where did you get all of that stuff from?
Well, yeah, this is the other thing. The other major idea of the work is to somehow embrace all the kinds of percussion that you see informally in one's life now. So, indeed, as you go around New York City, where Julia lives, you could often encounter extremely fine street musicians, and often playing this sort of bucket setup, and very skillfully so. Very often I've seen some great things there and elsewhere actually. But so Julie wanted to have that, and of course there's some great sounds there. There's the buckets, there's bass, again the bass and the snare kind of idea. Other sounds, metal sounds like a wire rack and a wire scraper, and what she calls a ratty cymbal. So she wants a lot of sounds that are not sort of particularly gorgeous or refined, but she just wants it very gritty and sort of funky and interesting. So that's why she assembled this bucket setup. And again, every note written down and wonderfully written. I mean, quite difficult. I mean, it takes a lot of work to get it both accurate, because it is a composed piece, but it's also a groove piece. So it's this very meticulous piece of, I would say, rather classical composition with this maximized groove feel and element in it. So it's a lovely mix of ideas, styles, and ambitions.
So I've got this image of you now going into a hardware store and hitting all the buckets to get the right sound. Is that the kind of...
It's exactly what's been going on.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
So last question, we've got a lot of teenagers watching. This is for high school students. What's your bit of advice to them if they're thinking of a career in music or being a percussionist or having a go at this kind of world? What's your one big piece of advice?
Enjoy music. Get to know as much music as you can. Embrace different types of music, all different styles of music. I mean, I find myself now still with a desperate need for music that I don't know, so I'm always looking for new discoveries. It could be maybe some singer from the past, or maybe some new piece from the underground today somewhere, or a piece of classical music that I haven't got around to listening to yet. Just embrace music, get to know music and love music, and have that wide-ranging taste, because music is very generous. It always gives back to you. The more you invest, the more you listen to music, the more it enriches your life.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me, and good luck with the rest of the day, and I hope you don't get too bruised.
Thank you very much, Rachel.